productivity growth is only good if you can tell people that it's going to benefit their lives.
The depth and the type of security you get in the U.S. is still very hard to find elsewhere.
We have not seen a major negative impact on jobs from AI, but if typical people, working people, start thinking that they're going to lose their job or their profession, or that their child that they work so hard to go to college and get a computer or software degree is not. I've used the baseball expression, we're only in the third inning, but when you're looking at all these great statistics, it is important to at least start monitoring, is there public support? And that could have an economic impact on the pace of AI regulation or data centers in the United States. Tech leaders have to remember that in the end of the day, productivity growth is only good if you can tell people that it's going to benefit their lives.
On a fixed income angle, because we are not investing necessarily mostly in the Mag 7s or the AI companies' equity, what we want is to make sure we invest in debt that can pay us back over time. And these data center increasingly uses debt as a tool to borrow. So when we look at these versus the debt coming through from the hyperscaler, remember the hyperscaler were very cash rich and they were not really having much of any debt. But now that everyone is going into an arms race, they are borrowing themselves. In fact, you see SpaceX borrowing, you see Nvidia borrowing, and then you see a bunch of Oracle, Meta, and all of those, Amazon, all borrowing in the bond market in pretty big size. So we think there could be some pressure on these senior unsecured debt, and the supply of that could make them to be a much bigger part of the US investment grade corporate index, going from something maybe under 5% to over 10% in pretty short order. Now, what we like, and we think we have the scale at PIMCO to do, is to negotiate data center, more of a project debt with selective hyperscaler that provide us the protection that we need from the parent, whether that be in the form of a guaranteed kind of take up of the capacity, so effectively guaranteeing the revenue of these data center project, and have other protection around the structure.
You spent more than 15 years at the White House. You worked with President Biden, President Obama, and President Clinton, right? Tell us about maybe one of your most memorable experience of being at White House.
And what I've admired most are those moments where the president was willing to put short-term politics aside and realize that we were in a difficult crisis, and that making the right decision might be harmful in the short term politically, but would ultimately best for the economy and best for ultimately then the politics. So just, I won't go into the details, but when President Clinton had to deal with the Mexico peso crisis, when in 1993 and 1997, we did put forward difficult deficit reduction paths, when President Obama, sitting across from him and deciding to bail out, to save the auto companies or to stabilize the banks, every single one of those was very complicated, very difficult. While he may want to do significant reforms, while he may believe the Federal Reserve should shrink their balance sheet, should be less aggressive in reducing their balance sheet on longer term bonds, while he may believe that he would like to be more dovish in lowering rates because he believes AI productivity, his hands are tied for two reasons. One, Iran. Note, we just saw the Fed's favorite inflation measure. It was near 4%. It's actually higher if you look at the last 6 months. So there is not going to be the opportunity in this year in 2026 to lower rates. But the other thing that I want to make clear is that while the Fed chair is often called the second most powerful economic position, more powerful just next to the president, still the Fed chair is one of 12 people who votes on whether to lower rates. They're one of 12 people who votes on whether or not to reduce the balance sheet, to do quantitative easing or reduce quantitative easing. So while you're right to be focused on Kevin Warsh and what he wants to do, you also need to understand he has limitations by what has happened in the economy due to Iran.
There was a belief that he would be able to maybe want some kind of rate cuts from these appointees. But if you look at the market pricing now, there is still some degree about market expecting a rate hike, about 45 basis points by the end of this year. Watching inflation, watching economic data will be more important going forward. And Kevin Warsh himself has said that he rather market react to economic data than to think about what individual governors might be committing to their dots and other type of projection that they might have.
Challenge we face right now is that now we have, as Justin said, we have 6% deficits, but realistically, it looks like they may, and by 6%, what I mean is a percentage of the deficit as a part of annual GDP or growth. It's generally not supposed to be higher than 3%. You're not supposed to borrow more each year than you're growing. So if we're growing at 2% a year in the United States, but we're borrowing another 7%, that's not very sustainable. But here's the good part and the bad part. The good part is that markets have not reacted negatively. People have still chosen to invest in the United States, to put their money in the United States. So what's bad about that? The bad part is that it makes American policymakers and politicians feel they don't have to make tough choices. So 30 years ago, if the deficit had been this high, it would have been the number one political issue. Now it is not. So the thing that will probably make us react to the deficit is in the United States, we have Social Security. That's the check people get every month for their retirement. That is going to become insolvent in 2032. And that is probably what will force us politically to take some tough fiscal measures, not because average politicians will say they're bringing the deficit down or making everybody here feel more confident, but because they will need to do so.
Yeah, I think one of the popular questions that got raised to us is whether they have too much in US dollar assets, whether there will be a trend of de-dollarization. And last year when we saw the Liberation Day and then the weeks following that, the market got really, really nervous. And we already know that the whole world is investing in the US, and US is running a very negative net investment position. So could that reverse? In recent quarters, we have actually seen the opposite. There's still a lot of net investment going into the US. So while there is the fiscal deficit, there is some question about the volatility of the bond market. I think what the bond market itself is getting inflow, and the depth and the type of security you get in the US is still very hard to find elsewhere. You don't get that much choice in other markets, be it euro or the yen or the renminbi or other markets. So one of the things that I might have alluded to is the emerging market as a basket could provide quite a good diversification to get a basket of things instead of just one single country that you want to diversify from the US.